Assalamu alaikum. This is your brother Rahim, coming at you once again, your investigative reporter. Versus DeAndre. His take is that the Quran is contradictive to the Bible. We're going to get into that. Part 1 of this series is the Bible, the infallible word of said God. Minister DeAndre's tactic is to try and prove that the Quran is infallible and contradicting to the Bible. In fact, the Bible is not infallible and it's contradicting to itself. Let's listen to what Minister DeAndre said.
Let's go to Genesis, the 2nd chapter, and see if the Quran is crooked or if the Bible is the infallible word of God, being that the Bible was written first and it has been proven and tested throughout all times to be the infallible word of God.
Minister DeAndre said the Bible has been proven throughout all time to be the infallible word of God, Yahweh. Now let us see that he is wrong in his analysis and what others say contrary to what he said. Since the minister started with Genesis, let's look at what was written about it. From the Harper Collins Study Bible, page 4, the Genesis introduction. It says, Genesis is not a scientific or historical textbook in the modern sense. Rather, it is a narration of ancient Israel's tradition and concepts of past, mixture of myths and legends, cultural memories, revisions of tradition, and literary brilliance. You can read the rest if you like. But what caught my eye is myths and legends. As you know, myths are things that really didn't happen, or it's just an imagination, like a unicorn or the tooth fairy. Legends can be rewritten when they want to because they're not spiritual. He already said that the word of said Bible is the inspiration of said God, Yahweh, and the Bible. But legends are not inspiration to men. Now, from the same book, Harper Collins Study Bible, page 21. Let's read this. You can read the top. Yet, the King James Version has serious defects. By the middle of the 19th century, the development of the biblical studies and the discovery of many biblical manuscripts more ancient than those of which the King James versions were based made it apparent that these defects were so many as to call for revision. Stop. So what is Minister DeAndre talking about? This is coming from people who are translating or transliteration, whatever you want to call it, the Bible. These are Christians saying this. But he made it a point to say the Bible is infallible. In this segment series, I'm going to show you that it's not infallible. Ellen G. White, a prophetess of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, in her Bible Commentary, Volume 1, page 14, has this confession to make about the fallibility of the Holy Bible. Quote, "The Bible we read today is the work of many copyists who have, in most instances, done their work with marvelous accuracy. But copyists have not been infallible. and God most evidently has not seen fit to preserve them altogether from error in transcribing. Another one coming from this Christian. Why do I agree with her? Because when you read most Bibles today, it's just in English. When you're dealing with America, there's no Hebrew to the side. Reading little words here and there from Strong's is not going to cut it. You have to actually learn how to read the Hebrew and Aramaic, and in some instances Arabic, and comprehend those languages. You will have a better understanding. That's why DeAndre, Antoine, and the rest don't understand the Quran. They say things that don't even fit. Like, they think the Quran tells them to tell us, the Muslim, to read, preach, and obey the Bible, when I can show them, and I've already showed them, it doesn't. Jehovah's Witnesses, on page 5 of their foreword, mentioned earlier, they confess in copying the inspired originals by hand, the element of human frailty entered in, and so none of the thousands of copies extant today in the original language are perfect duplicates. The result is that no two copies are exactly alike. So I'm showing you from different denominations, they are confessing this. No two copies are alike. This is not coming from the Muslim. See, I'm not bringing the Quran in this one. For this. Okay? The Hindus didn't do it. The Mayans didn't do it. The Mexicans didn't do this. This is from your own book that's giving this knowledge. The Bible is not infallible. From your own people are saying this. This shows you people that Minister DeAndre does not know what he's talking about. I'm able to pull up all this stuff and you can check behind me. I'm giving you the names, the books, the page, where to go to, okay? This isn't the end. It's going to get very interesting. So I'm glad Minister DeAndre did this, so it opens up the floodgates for what I have to present in my dissertation, contrary to what he has put out. Here's more info. The English Bible, okay? You can get this in your library or somewhere where they have this. It comes in volumes. It says, in the 2nd century AD or even earlier, the rabbis, the Jewish religious leaders, compiled a text from such manuscripts as had survived the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. Now, on this basis was established the traditional or Masoretic text, or called from the Hebrew word Masorah, tradition. Remember that book said in the Harper's Collins Bible, it said about myths and traditions? Let me read on. This text incorporated the mistakes of generations of copyists, and in spite of the care bestowed on it, many errors of later copyists also found their way into it. The earliest surviving manuscripts of this text date from the 9th to 11th centuries AD, and it is in this text as printed in R. Kittle's Biblia Hebraic 3rd edition 1937, which has been used for the present translation. There it is, folks. More evidence. How can you get around this, Minister DeAndre? People, go to him and present this to him. Ask him for evidence that the Bible is infallible. Ask him. Ask him about what I'm giving to you. What does Gerald Massey say from his book, False History of the Old and New Testament? Gerald Massey is one of the great historical people that did wonderful works. His book, The Historical Jesus and the Mythical Christ. You can get the book if you need it. This is what he says. The only way to dispose finally of the false history of the Old Testament or the New is by recovering the true African tradition. The natural genesis and continuity of the typology have been traced from the beginning to their culmination in equinoctial Christology. The supremest verities of revealed truth are proved to be only falsifications of ancient African fables, and the facts adduced in evidence suffice to confirm the long-suspected flaw in the title deeds of Christianity. They demonstrate the non-historical nature of the gospel records and show them to be the work of virtual forgers who obtain possession of sacerdotal authority upon pretenses entirely false. There you have it, people. More proof. I'm not making this stuff up. More proof. What should be going on right now is not the Quran contradiction to the Bible. It should be the Quran correcting the contradictions of the Bible. But let's move on. Let's take a look at what the NIV Bible says. Okay? And this basically says the most reliable early manuscripts and other ancient witnesses do not have Mark chapter 16 verses 9 through 20. They have turned those into footnotes. But DeAndre said that God inspired words to men. So who gave these men the right to add? Okay? They don't have Mark chapter 16 to 20. So how do you put a chapter 16, 9 to 20 when it's supposed to end to 8? End at 8. You got to explain that to me, to us, Minister DeAndre. Here's how it looks in book form. So I copied, not retyped, both that NIV Bible and this, what you see. Why is that? Now, let's look at more proof. This time it's coming from the RSV Bible, Revised Standard Version, page 3, and it sounds basically like the Harper's Collins Bible. This is what it says. Yet the King James Version has grave defects. By the middle of the 19th century, the development of biblical studies and the discovery of many manuscripts more ancient than those upon which the King James Version was based made it manifest that these defects are so many and so serious as to call for revision of the English translation. And I will stop right there. You can read the rest at your own interest. So this backs up the Harper Collins Bible and what it said, okay? And this is a direct reproduction. I didn't retype it, and it comes directly from that book. Again, it's not infallible, the Bible. So please stay tuned for part 2. The Bible is not infallible.